For 60 years, Arkansas and Mississippi have been the only states in America without wrestling as a sanctioned competitive sport. Little Rock businessman Greg Hatcher plans to change that.
Ever since I moved here in 1983, I was just, confused why we didn't have wrestling in Arkansas, and it's always been on my to-do list. I have a kind of a lifetime to-do list, like run a marathon, skydive. One of them was start wrestling in Arkansas, and been pretty busy with my 5 kids doing other things. I have 4 girls and 1 boy, so I've coached all of their teams for years. But it was really just that Don Schuler up at Bentonville called and said that he heard I had a wrestling background and that I was good at community service projects, and could I help him get wrestling started. And so he really kind of kicked me in the rear and said, hey, let's get going. I said, all right, let's go. I said, what's the biggest issue? And he said, getting the wrestling mats. And so we got with David Basil and got all the TV stations and everybody together and announced that we'll purchase the first 20 schools wrestling mats, and that kind of kicked it off. And then from that point on, just had a lot of experience working with all kinds of different events and just put all those synergies to work to get it going.
The push for wrestling in Arkansas has drawn attention from schools, most of which is favorable.
Greatest sport around, fastest, highest pace, toughest sport in the world. The only people that can compete with us are gymnasts. If we can bring 10 people in to watch a match, 5 of them are going to be set for life. They just love the high-paced quickness of the sport. Most people, all they know is, I'm jumping off the turnbuckle and hand me that metal chair. That's not wrestling, that's sports entertainment. It's one of my favorite sports entertainments. I love the WWF and the WWE. And I'm not saying they're not athletes, and I'm not saying they're tough. I'm just saying they know who's going to win before they walk in the mat. With the real wrestling, it's all up in the air till the whistle blows.
I think it's great. I think it gives a lot of the kids an opportunity to, participate in a team sport that allows some of the smaller kids who may not be as big and, that are able to play football, or the real tall kids that are able to play basketball, an opportunity to, participate in the athletics. So I think it's great.
Oh, I think it's great. Luckily, we finally got some new help. Me and my brother are basically kind of running the team with help from a coach up there, but we really haven't had any wrestling background. Brother has a little bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, but we've just basically been getting stuff off the internet, try to help the kids. But we've got a new coach, or a new guy that's helping, a volunteer that's helping coach that has a background.
It's something that to me has been a long time coming. I've felt a passion for the sport of wrestling before it came to the state of Arkansas. It's something that I wanted, and to be honest, I never had the foresight and the vision to realize that it was a possibility in Arkansas. And man, a big thanks to those who made it possible. It excites me tremendously.
Prior to this year's effort to get wrestling sanctioned in Arkansas, the only school in the state with a wrestling program was the Arkansas School for the Blind.
Well, wrestling began back in the early 40s. Wrestling has been a sport that lended itself very well to being for the blind and visually impaired. The blind and visually impaired can participate very well in wrestling on an even keel. And I think that was one of the reasons why they kind of originally looked at starting the program. Started back in the early 40s, primarily wrestled with boys clubs, with a few other schools. There were some schools in the state wrestling at the time. And through the years, it's just kind of evolved into a school sport with us participating against other schools for the blind. Now in recent years, some of the public schools have looked at picking it up, so there are more opportunities for the kids to wrestle with public schools. And through the years, the numbers of other people in the state participating has varied. In most years, there's not a large number of schools. Now this particular year, we have had a lot. There were also quite a few schools wrestling back in the early 70s, but most of it as a club sport. And then off and on throughout the mid-80s, there were a number of schools that kind of tried it out a little bit but never really stuck with it.
Wrestling is a complex sport with a wide variety of acceptable maneuvers. These moves are drilled continuously in practice, so that wrestlers can use them effectively in competition. A properly executed move can gain wrestlers points, while an illegal move can cause deductions of points.
You have 3 2-minute rounds. The wrestler has won the match if he pins the guy, in which if you have both their shoulder blades on the ground or the bottom part of their back or the upper part of their back is touching the ground, you get 2 points for a takedown. You receive 1 point for escape, and you can receive 2 or 3 for a near fall, in which you have a guy on his back and you're holding him there. He's not pinned, but he's on his back and he has at least 1 shoulder down. What they'll do, they'll start out, they'll give him 2 points for a near fall, and the referee will be counting, and after 5 seconds he has to get a 3-point near fall. That's the most they can get, is a 3-point near fall without getting the actual fall itself.
The Arkansas Activities Association requires 16 schools to have a competitive wrestling program, and as of early 2007, 20 schools were signed up.
In order to get wrestling started in the state of Arkansas and have it sanctioned by the AAA, which is the Arkansas Activities Association, you have to have 16 schools participate. So what we decided to do was make an offer that nobody could refuse if they were interested in wrestling, and the Arkansas Wrestling Association said we'll purchase wrestling mats for the first 20 schools that add wrestling.
If you'd like more information on high school wrestling in Arkansas, or would like to volunteer at your local school, a website is available at www.arkwrestling.com.
We'll see you on the mat!